Bob, have you have you faced the Olympic Committee of Chicago yourself yet, or?
Yeah, actually, there was a public forum 2 weeks ago in Lincoln Park, the Nature Center there. And they were basically putting forward that the Olympics weren't going to cost the people of Chicago a dime. And when faced with the economic numbers around Vancouver, which the people are now taking on $6 billion, they're going to have to pay $6 billion for the Olympics. And the numbers around London, which is 4 to 5 times over budget. I think they're looking at, what is it, Chris? $20 billion at this point in time.
Yeah. And they're 2012, right?
They're 2012. They're looking at about $3 billion just for security costs alone. And I brought this up to the Chicago bid team, and basically what they said was, well, the taxpayers don't have to worry about any of this. It's not going to cost you a dime. And then on top of that, what they said, really, this is about creating making Chicago a global city, which I find funny because I would think Chicago actually was
already
a global city,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And then my question is, what is a global city? Is it the ability to put on a 2-week sporting event 8 years from now, or is it a city where we're actually able to house people, give people a decent education, give people health care? I mean, for me, that should be the priorities of a global city.
Right. So now let's talk about the public forum scheduled for today, this afternoon, which if you are listening to this and you're getting, your pulse is racing, your heart is beating a little bit, you're concerned about this. I, for one, I love the idea of the Olympics. Mm-hmm. And what could be cooler than the Olympics in your own hometown is kind of the simplistic notion that I think a lot of Chicagoans have in their mind right now. They haven't thought beyond. And maybe the onerous thoughts that sometimes come up with the news reports of how much is this going to cost? And then you get the assurances, it's not going to cost you a dime. Well, even if that were possibly true, which I cannot believe it's possibly true, because all of the city services that are going to be used.
$45 million are already figuring that we're going to have to pay for city services, which is an underestimate, a severe underestimate. So they're lying to us. They're lying through their teeth and saying it's not going to cost us a dime, and the city has already put $45 million aside. On top of the $500 million in case things happen fund, on top of the TIF that they passed for the Olympic Village, that is money that should be going to schools, but they said it's going to go into the infrastructure to allow for the building of the Olympic Village. Yeah.
Just for 1 second, station break. You are listening to Live from the Heartland, an incredibly pertinent Live from the Heartland on WLUW 88.7 on your dial. We're talking Olympics, we're talking cost, and we're talking how you as a citizen might want to step up and get educated. So what's happening today?
Tonight we're having a forum. It's actually pretty interesting. This is really the first public forum for No Game Chicago, which has been a network of a handful of people around the city trying to get together and start a group to say, actually, we don't want the Olympics. So tonight we're having a forum at 6 p.m. It's at UIC in the Student Center East at 750 South Halsted. It's at room 605. We're going to have Chris speak, but Chris is also going to be speaking alongside a panel of Chicago activists. One of the panelists is actually a member of CORE, which is a rank and file Teachers Caucus and CPS. And she's going to talk about really what's going on at CPS, the privatization of schools, the closing down of schools, and questioning really what are the city's priorities? Why are we building an Olympic Village when we have CPS in the state that it is? Mm-hmm. Another panelist is J.R. Fleming. He's somebody who's been active around the issues of public housing in this city. I don't know if people know, but Loyola did a study because CHA actually doesn't keep track of where public housing residents are going through the plan for transformation. So they're knocking down buildings and they have no idea where people are going. Loyola did a study that said only about 10% of people who were originally in public housing will get back into public housing after the plan for transformation is finished. And Willie J.R. Fleming has been very active in helping voice the rights of the people in public housing. And Deborah Taylor, who's a resident of the South Side, is really going to speak about, she's a South Sider. She doesn't want the games, and she's going to put that forward and what that means to the community there. I just want to say that Chicago 2016 has gotten wind of our event, and it was in
let's
the
hear
Tribune.
about that.
Yeah.
I want to hear about that because you sent out, you put out the fact of this meeting, and then how did they respond?
I mean, I think it's crazy because I said we were just a handful of activists, and this is true, and we booked a room for about 150 people, and Chris was telling me he thought he'd come to town, speak to about 150 people, and go back, and that'd be fine, and we'd have a nice talk. Well, Chicago 2016 got wind of the event, and they asked 10,000 of their volunteers. They sent an email out to 10,000. I don't know if they're volunteers, but they have people on a list,
Right.
asking them to come to our meeting to basically stack the room. And make sure that this meeting doesn't happen, and say, well, people in Chicago actually support the bid, which
Welcome
I
to
don't
Chicago,
think is
Chris.
true.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Which has been great for us because we've actually gotten international attention now around this issue and our meeting.
Yeah.
So, the Tribune ran this story. We sat down with the Wall Street Journal, the Times of London, so a meeting that just should have been 150 people at UIC is now turned into a very big deal. But I think people, if they really want to hear the truth about what the Olympics are going to mean for Chicago, should come out tonight, should hear what the panel has to say, and then we're gonna talk afterwards about let people from the crowd speak about. Do you want the Olympics? What do you think? What do you think the priorities of the city actually should be? Should it be better public transportation, or should we be building? Really, what the Olympics are going to be about in Chicago is 7,300 more condo units near the South Loop, which is already flush with condos. To me, that doesn't seem like what our priorities should be, especially given the economic crisis that we're in at this point in time.